So basically what happens with this is that while one needs to understand this as an expression of a certain impulse to secularize, where the process of secularization itself leads to excess religiosity or exaggerated expression of religiosity, and the fact that when communities emerge in the public space and want to express themselves, they take on these forms. But politically what happens is that these expressions, these need to expressions, if they get channelized through forms which are religious, and especially in a country like ours where it is not just multi-religious and there are these religious divisions which are very strong and very deep often, and which can be very lethal, but also there are all these layers of caste and region and other discriminations involved in this, gender issues involved in this. What it does is that it creates a whole resource, easily accessible resource for reaction, of reactionary politics of all sorts. And if you look at it, for example, that every year what is happening in, say, Hyderabad with Ganesh Chaturthi or in Maharashtra is that people are forced to reassert their Hindu identity. Whereas in their daily lives they are not really necessarily living as Hindu. They're working, they're doing this. If you look, a lot of things are getting secularized, right? But then this makes it into this thing that it makes you very conscious that you are Hindu, right? And this space is Hindu, this public space is Hindu, and then contests happen over it. That the pandal which we made was so many feet last time. This time it will be even bigger because we have collected more money, because people in the community are doing better, some at least, so they are giving more money, and it becomes an expression. So the expression of success for people in the community, expression of to show their position in, get channelized through these things which are fairly reactionary. And as you were saying that yes, that you don't need only one or two people to be part of a fundamentalist organization, they say BP or anything else. Everybody would become. So if tomorrow there is a Durga Pooja and something happens, then everybody, even secular minded people, would say, okay, this is terrible, right? So that is the danger, and the problem is that with what I face is that there is no coherent left response. Now this has been going on for more than a century. I mean, if you see what happened in the late 19th century, since then this has been going on, this process, and it keeps emerging continuously. Every situation, every context, it keeps coming back. And over these 100 years and more, more than a century, the left, and I'm not meaning only the communists or the progressive forces, let us say, the progressive forces have not really worked out ways how to counter it, right? So there was Tagore, who tried to do something but got completely isolated and made defanged, as the word I used earlier. There were other people who did various things, but it really, till today, there has been no. I mean, in Bengal, for example, the communists said that we will use these at places for propaganda, to spread our word. So most of these Durga Pooja celebrations, you will find it's like a mela. So there are food stalls, there are things, people come in their new clothes, they dress, they are playing, there are little rides organized, people are selling literature. So the communist parties and various other organizations, it's not just communist, they open their stalls, they do membership, they spread their sell their literature. I have often gone and bought, because if you want to buy certain things, Lenin's works or Marx's works.
During Durga Pooja.
Yes, those stalls is easiest, right there next to your home, it's available. Your old copy of Lenin's What Is to Be Done is getting torn, or somebody's taken it and not returned. So you can go and pick it up there, and nowadays you don't even get those, but I'm talking of the 80s when progress publishers from Moscow used to send huge plane loads of literature. So you would get all those things cheaply available in various languages. Bengali, Hindi, you name it, you get it easily available. So they have done that, but what they haven't done is to try and work out how to secularize. Because the fight in India, unfortunately, in the left, has been over secularism, right, which is state policy. It's a political project, secularism. It's an ideology of the state, or it's a political project. But secularization, right? To secularize, to empty the public space of religion and religious meaning, of sacred meaning, right? That is something which has happened only in fits and starts. So in Andhra Pradesh, you had this famous, attempt by Gora, the Nastikam Kendram in Vijayawada, right? You had attempts by people like Phule, right? But in the end, unfortunately, even radical movements, right, end up taking recourse to religion. So in that sense, there has never been. So if you look at, for example, it's not just a question of these religious festivals. If you look at the progressive movement, where has there been an attempt to try and secularize our social relations, our family relations? So if you see the way a communist radical, whether it's a Maoist or a member of the CPI or any CPM or anybody, the way they get married, with a few exceptions. So in Andhra Pradesh, you will see some party marriages happen, right? Whether it's among the ML groups or among the CPM and others. But overwhelming majority in Bengal and in Kerala, you will see, right? The overwhelming majority of Communist Party cadre, and whichever Communist Party you talk of, they get a regular Hindu or marriage done or a nikah done or whatever else. Okay. Right? In the same form, if you go into a house and see the relations between husbands and wife, father and children, mother and children, wife and in-laws, can you make out by looking at that whether you've gone into a progressive family or a reactionary family? You can't.
So that can I, in this basement years, since 2012 year, and in this time when we look back these all movements, can we say, even when Javed was telling and even you are saying the same, that every movement in India, every movement, including the marginalized movement, the mainstream level marginalized movement, was trying for negotiating a mainstream space rather than a different space, so that there is a mainstream level space, so that every movement till now has only negotiated for that only space, not to have a different space. Can we put like that?
True, that is true. See, even say for example, the Dalit movement, what started as a very important thing at that time, I think about 100 years ago, the temple entry thing. Even today that is taking place. Yeah, whereas the temple should be irrelevant now to the Dalits. Right? But it becomes an important thing. And I'm saying this because, if you for example look at Ambedkar, now very strong and very radical critique on a range of issues, but finally he ends up using the religious form. Now Ambedkar's Buddhism is not the Buddhism of the Sinhala monks or the Tibetan monks.
Or even Indian Buddhist, I would say.
Right. But it's still the religious form that he has to fall back on. Right? You look at Narayana Swami, you look at, a whole range of people, you are finally falling back on the religious form. And I think today at least the material conditions, to use very classic Marxist terms, the material conditions in India are such that if somebody is creative and imaginative enough, right, one can do what people in the 19th century, so people like Henry Thoreau were trying to do, an irreligious form of public action, or what say Tagore was doing in his later life, even though he remained a believer himself, right, or Gora was doing. Right? So what we need is creativity on that, and that has not happened. So what is happening is we will try to write piggyback. So you say that Ganesh Chaturthi should not be about Hindu Muslims. Muslims should also participate, give water to processionists, and Muslims should also come and take part in poetry reading during Durga Pooja. Right? That is just completely a dead end. So what we need are secular festivals and things where and it's okay, I personally, speaking for me, and that is open to debate, I think, say for example, a form which is religious or has an origin which is religious can be emptied of all its religious meaning and become a public festival, like Holi has happened in many places. Right? So it's just become a place when you drink and you sort of, get access to sing and dance in public with your friends and with members of the other sex, right? So Holi is that is very important, right? So you could do things like that, right? Now I don't know what are the other forms. Eid, for example, again, that you meet people, you go and meet your friends, you meet people you have not met earlier. So even when I was growing up, for example, Eid was like that. Most people I knew in my family didn't actually really keep the fast. Today everyone does. At that time, half of them I think didn't keep the fast. But on Eid, people would wear new clothes, right? Cook good food, go and meet friends, relatives. It's a day to socialize, to meet people, to celebrate, wear new clothes, renew. All societies need those. So you can
Christmas is that.
You can do that. But the thing is that you can't keep the religious form. Now what has happened unfortunately with Eid is that it's becoming increasingly religious. And that secularization which was happening on its own has gone back. Because there's been, nobody is given thought to this. So these become sources for extreme reaction to use of whatever form.
Okay.